right, here we go. Thanks for jumping on the Helix Experience podcast. I'm on episode 4 with my amazing fiance, Steph. Thanks for jumping on.
Soon to be wife.
Soon to be wife, yeah, it's coming up.
That's going to be a
6 months.
weird dynamic. We're going to go from fiance to wife and husband.
Wife and husband. That sounds so fucking weird.
That's some real adult shit right there.
So we had a training retreat on the weekend training camp. So it was like 4 hours, just hardcore shit. We're doing hectic training, mindset, talking about our feelings, all that gay stuff. And we had a bunch of topics come up.
It actually wasn't gay at all. It was epic.
Well, people say gay shit. That's why I say gay shit.
You love it.
Yeah, it was sick. So we had a couple of topics come up which we wanted to discuss because we think that the listener of this podcast probably has a lot in common and resonates with the people that were on our training retreat. So we thought the issues that were coming up would be the same.
Yeah, the listener being you.
You're an amazing person. So we're going to talk about planning, values, training for the right reasons, self-belief, and what's stopping you. So we're going to run through each of them.
Hey, before we get going, Tim, I'd love to know, why do you love running these, this was like kind of, a mini retreat, but talk to me about why you love running them.
Why do I like running them? Probably because I went on a bunch of retreats before I became a retreat runner, and I got heaps out of them. They really they kind of accelerated my progress. I'd say every time I went to a retreat or a training camp, it really stepped me up and accelerated my progress. So I wanted to be the facilitator of that for other people. Mm. And I feel like just a 1 hour, 60-minute gym session with, a couple of training buddies is not quite the same as a 4 hour structured intensive. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Why do you love running retreats?
Yeah, I think for some of the stuff that's going to come up today, which is definitely why I love running them, is I think people need to be shown what they're made of. And I think that you can't, you can push for an hour. And I think most people know they can push for an hour. That's why they join a gym, I can get through an hour, but can you get through 4 hours? Can you get through 3 days?
Yeah.
And that's when shit really starts to get real, that's when all the walls start falling down because exhaustion hits and self-doubt comes in and your body starts to hurt and your mind has to push harder than your body ever will. And it's just crazy what happens in those moments, because that's when the chinks in the armor appear, and that's when we're actually able to dive into the real stuff, versus what's actually underneath versus what you're presenting when you rock up at the gym. So that's why I love it.
Yeah, so true. We used to run retreats before the pandemic and they were fucking crazy, 7 days in Bali doing the shit we were doing on the weekend, and you really get to...
I remember my first retreat, we were together, but we were kind of, not that new. We were living together, but maybe less than 2 years. And I would not say that I was a fit person. I wouldn't really say that I was very comfortable in the gym environment, let alone going to Bali for a fitness retreat. That was well out of my comfort zone at that stage.
Yeah.
And I remember crying every day for 7 days. One, because I was just so triggered by the fact that, I just had this constant self-narrative running that I was just useless and slow and awful and all those things, because I was still learning fitness. But secondly, because my body was literally in so much pain because we were doing 4 workouts a day every day for 7 days.
Yeah.
It was insane.
I think one retreat we did 28 workouts in 7 days. It was more than 5 a day.
I was taking ibuprofen and Panadol just to get through it, just because my body was so sore.
So shit these days is really tame compared to back then. So we'll dive into our first topic. We had this one come up quite a bit, and people were just asking questions about planning and how do you structure your week for success with training, nutrition, and business. I'll handle this one. I'm definitely more of the planner between Steph and I. So what I like to do on a Sunday, I would write out when I'm going to train. I would plan out my meals. If I was going to cook, I would cook them on a Sunday. And then with business, I would write down my top 5 things that I would like to accomplish for the week, and then structure those out with days and times around my coaching and client engagements and, sales and these types of things. So in terms of how you structure your week, you want to do this on the Sunday for the week ahead. So how many sessions are you going to do? When are you going to do them? When are you going to train? What are you going to eat? How many calories are you going to have? What meals are you going to have? What night are you going to go out and celebrate or do something like that? And then with business, it's what are the top 5 things you want to accomplish today or this week? And then when are you going to pencil in time to do them? If you don't plan this stuff, it will never get done, and you'll be on one of the constant hamster wheels of just not getting progress, being unhappy with your progress, not getting progress, not planning, not setting the right times, and then being unhappy with your progress over and over and over. So if you just do this on a Sunday, just literally get out a pen and paper, write it down. Cool. On Monday morning, I'm training at 6:30 a.m. On Tuesday afternoon at 5:30. On Wednesday, I'm going to stretch, and just write all this shit out and actually stick to it, because shit's going to come up all the time. Like shit comes up, like fuck, something happens in your family, or, you tweak your foot, or, your diet goes out the window for a day, or, so-and-so says this and I don't really feel like training. But you got to stick to the fucking plan. Otherwise, you're never going to get anywhere.
I think the reason, I think it would be really interesting is to go into the reason why this came up, because when we were on the retreat on the weekend, I think a lot of people, and we'll dive into a lot more in a minute, but a lot of people were realizing okay, well, let's set a goal, whether that's, and they were fitness goals at the time, but whether that's to lose weight, to, get more attractive nutrition, to hit a bigger squat, snatch, whatever it is. And when we checked in with people, we're like, well, why haven't you hit it so far? Like, what's holding you back? And the reality was, especially when it came to the weight loss or the muscle gain numbers, it really came down to a lack of planning. It was like, I've been meaning to get on to cooking, do my meal prep on a Sunday, but then, I just want to spend time with my kid. And, like I said, then they don't end up doing it. And one of the biggest pieces of advice we gave out was if you can afford to not do it, don't do it. And Tim and I, he mentioned before, if I was going to cook, then I would cook on a Sunday, but we don't do that because we have our meals prepped for us by Active Eating, who we love. And
discount code TIM10. Okay, make sure you use that.
Discount code TIM10. But we use them because we were just sick of failing over and over and over again. Especially me personally, I was just sick of being I'm going to go to the shops and meal prep and then keep not doing it. Something has to change. And at some point you have to make a new commitment. You have to make a new habit. You have to make a new promise to yourself, a new behavior. You have to do something different. And so for me, everything changed the minute I ordered Active Eating, because now I just get my macro meals delivered. They're tasty. I eat that 3 minutes in the microwave and I can stick to my macros,
Yeah.
So it just got easier. It's really hard to fuck up. So it's how can you remove the obstacles and the barriers that are getting in your way? How can you put things in place, make them easier for yourself? Instead of spending an hour on the weekends, cleaning your house, maybe there's a cleaner that you can get in for $30 an hour, because that $30 that you would have wasted on that, or that you spend in that hour, you could then spend cooking all your meals and getting yourself fully set up for your week and actually start hitting your goals. And you would very easily go out on a weekend and spend that $30 on a couple of beers or a couple of wines or whatever. It's actually starting to make the changes that are important and planning not just your week, but your fucking life.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't plan it, someone else will plan it for you.
Yeah.
You fit into someone else's plan.
Totally.
So, to create change, the pain that you're going through has to exceed the pain of staying the same. So if it's not so much of a big deal for you right now, one day you're going to wake up and you're going to be like, all right, cool. Now is the time. I'm sick of being in so much pain of this thing that is causing me of staying the same, that you're going to have to take the next step. And
one day you're going to wake up, you're going to look in the mirror and you're going to be like, I am a fat piece of shit and I am done with looking like this. And today is the day things are going to change. And I know if you're listening to this, you have felt or been there before.
Yeah.
It may have been a different experience, but I'm done with being, that guy that doesn't stand up for what he believes in. I'm done with being that woman who's not confident in her day job. I'm done with being that person that lays down and takes it all the time. Whatever it looks like for you.
Yeah, be the giver.
One day you're going to wake up and be like, I am fucking done with this shit and I am ready to make a change. And that is that tipping point when the pain of staying the same and not progressing outweighs the pain of changing, because to change and to actually hit your goals and to actually put the plans in place and that have the discipline that is required to truly make the change, you are going to have to level up. You're going to have to become a different person. You're going to have to do things that are hard and you're going to have to consistently do them until they become a habit. And the pain needs to be big enough for you to actually be willing to make those changes and those sacrifices.
Yeah, I love it. I'm going to ask you to share the Preston story of the dude hitting the rock bottom, because I think this is going to relate to this. Steph's just looking at me like...
I'm like, the story of what rock bottom?
The guy, the partner hitting rock bottom.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. There was I was on a call with one of my mentors the other week, and there was a woman who was speaking about her husband who was an addict. And I didn't know what form of addiction it was in, but I think it might be drugs. And she was basically saying that, she was blaming him for all the reasons why she was so unhappy in her life. She's with this guy and he just never he always says he's going to get better, but he never does. And then she finds out he's lying again, and then they're fighting again, and then she's crying. And it was this constant, circle and cycle of this woman just being so disappointed by this man every single time and time again. And in the end, the advice that was given to her was, you are actually being selfish by staying in the relationship with this man, because the more that you stay to try and save him, the further away he gets from his rock bottom. And we all know that when we hit rock bottom, you have had, if you're listening to this podcast, you have had your rock bottom moment. You've had one so far. You're probably going to, FYI, you're probably due a few more. You're going to have a few more. But you've probably hit a rock bottom before, and you're like, and in that moment comes your power. In that moment comes your courage. In that moment comes your realization that you absolutely cannot keep going this way and life has to change. And he was saying, my mentor was saying, that every day she stays with him and every day she selfishly tries to save him, because every day she tries to save him, she's doing that for herself so that she feels better. Every day she selfishly tries to save him and she stays in that relationship, she's preventing him from hitting his rock bottom and having his biggest breakthrough of all time. And I really love that story, because it's for a few reasons. One, stop trying to save people, because, ultimately, you need to be in a relationship where both partners are bringing something to the table. But two, even more importantly, your rock bottom is where the good stuff happens. Don't be scared of hitting your rock bottom.
100%. I agree. So, I wanted Steph to come up with that story. I'll tell you guys about that story, because rock bottom and the pain of not changing and staying the same are kind of related there. So at some point you will hit rock bottom with your nutrition or your body or your laziness, or you just get sick of your excuses. And at that point, you're going to make a change. So we were talking about planning. I think planning is a non-negotiable for a successful week for anyone that wants to be successful in any aspect of their life. If you do not plan, you will fit into someone else's plan somewhere.
What's the saying? Fail to plan, plan to fail?
Yep, that is the one. So we're going to go into values. So values, where I learned this, I did a master in NLP about 4 years ago. I went to Adelaide and studied this. NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. Essentially, it's the psychology of success. So values are things that direct your actions in life. So some examples of values would be like health, wealth, happiness, love, connection, relationships, friendships, these types of big things. And a mentor of mine, Paul, he always used to say, different Paul, not billionaire Paul, other Paul, he would say a value is something that can't fit in a wheelbarrow. So it has to be kind of like a mythical thing that's not like a real object. So you have these various values. I think there's about 40 common values that there are, and they're ordered generally in your subconscious mind from 1 to 40. And then your top 3 are going to be things that you do every day, kind of consciously, because you really value them in your life, and then they become habits. The problem that a lot of people come to with health and fitness is health or fitness are not in their top 3 values. Therefore, they can never really get the changes that they want because they don't value it, they don't prioritize it, and they don't make time for it.
Can I jump in?
Of course.
I love it because it's 100% totally spot on. But they think consciously that it's a value.
Yeah.
Because they probably think about it a lot, right? They're like, I want to look better. I want to feel better. I want to move better. I really, really want it. Just because you are consciously thinking about it a lot does not then change the way that you are subconsciously programmed, which is actually your behavior. So what your behavior will actually tell us what your values are faster than your mouth will. Yeah. Because if you are not behaving health, if you are not getting up early in the morning, stretching, getting to the gym or whenever, getting to the gym daily, if you're not taking supplements, if you're not putting nutritious food into your body, if you're choosing to eat takeout, drink alcohol, smoke, do narcotics and drugs, if you are doing those things and that is your behavior, then that tells me that you actually don't prioritize health, that you just want to prioritize health. So the difference between saying, yeah, this is my value, but if you're not behaving the value, then it doesn't matter how much you think that you want it, you won't get it.
Yeah. So just do a little bit of a think what you really value, but you're going to be able to tell by what you do throughout the week. Like if you're someone that, loves to go for drinks 3 or 4 times a week, then I think, socializing is going to be a high value for you. Or if, you like to go out and get fucked up and have a good time and go to parties and go clubbing and these types of things, then obviously having fun or doing those types of things is going to be a value for you. But the problem with those is it's really hard to maintain a health and fitness lifestyle if that's in one of your values. They're going to be conflicting quite seriously.
Well, the thing is that only the top 3 values really get priority because your body can't literally, prioritize 40 values, right? So your mind is constantly prioritizing your top 3 values. So when Tim and I did this exercise, we both realized that one of our top values was spending time together as like a spouse. Quality time for us was really important. But then we realized how much, we were spending time like watching Netflix, going to the movies, like hanging out on weekends, like, basically doing nothing together for long periods of time. And we realized that we kept talking about how we wanted to change the world. We kept talking about how much we wanted to, build our ranch and build our farm and all this stuff, but we weren't actually behaving anything to do with it. We were actually just spending time together and loving each other, which we had to then consciously deprioritize and be like, okay, well, if just for the next 2 years, we just spent all of our spare time focusing on leveling up, on growing our knowledge, on focusing on business, on growing our businesses, on, banking more money so that we could build our ranch and help more people and hit our goals faster, then that's going to get us where we actually want to go. And so we had to actually deprioritize something that was really important to us because something else needed to take precedent. Because you can't get to the next level without sacrifice. So something has to change.
Yeah. So I've had 2,867 clients or something like that, very precise. And I can tell you, the ones that actually really got results in there is probably, 300 to 400. But those 300 to 400, they valued health. And that was obviously in their values. And these are the types of people that they book in 4 or 5 days a week in the gym and they show up 4 to 5 days in the gym.
And I can tell you right now, I bet you those 400 people, I bet you that they had some sort of health scare.
Oh, for sure.
Like that's the reason why they valued health, because what's the saying? You don't value health until it's missing.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like you don't think it's important until you don't have it.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that fucking matters, but yet we always deprioritize it because until it becomes the only thing that matters, you know?
It's the saying is like you will chase wealth until your health deteriorates. And then when your health deteriorates, you'll chase wealth. The other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll chase wealth until your health deteriorates. And then once you're wealthy, you'll wish that you had your health back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that. So if you want to look into this, you can look up a guy called Claire Graves, and he has a little bit of information on values, a couple of books on there as well. There'll be heaps online, but something super cool to look into. Also, if you want to change your values, there's ways you can do that. I would suggest looking at an NLP coach for that. If you need any links, let me know. Yeah,
I think the reason that we wanted to discuss that with you guys, I know it sounds super random that we just randomly started bringing up values. This is because it was something that came up again on the retreat this week. So it was something that, people were like, I want this. And then we're like, yeah, but are you behaving it? Do you you're telling yourself that you want it, but what are you actually changing to get it? And so that's something to really keep in mind. Are you just telling yourself that you want it, but what are you actually, actions speak louder than words? Like what are you actually doing to get it?
Yeah.
I think one of the next things that came up on the camp, which I would love to dive into, Tim, was training for the right reasons. Because I think that there was a couple of people who were talking about how, since they joined Helix, that they feel like now they're training for the right reasons. So do you want to dive into what that looks like, how those conversations kind of came up?
I think a lot of people join a gym like Helix because they see the results. So they see, especially like girls, that, they look better, they build the booty, they lose fat, they gain confidence, they do all these types of things. And then as soon as they're there and they're in for a couple of weeks and they're getting those results, they kind of switch their focus to training for themselves and to see how far they can push themselves and to see what kind of performance improvements they can get. So it goes from very like visual and very, me centric. What is the world going to think of me? This is why I'm training, to very like internal and more like a spiritual journey of like seeing how far I can push the body.
Yeah. And I think like as a woman who's kind of gone through this, I do think that a lot of the time, we're joining the gym to punish ourselves, like, I just, I eat like shit on the weekends. So I just need to get in the gym and just like, if I just burn all this fat off, then I'll finally look good kind of thing. But I think that when you come to Helix, it's a really big shift into actual holistic health. And I don't know one woman still at the gym now that wouldn't say that she started training for her, not to please others anymore, that she started training on longevity, on health, on depth of squat, on mobility, on strength, on power. And because of those things, the results come, right? Like the results are going to come if you're training and you're eating well.
For sure.
But if you're training and doing fitness just to look a certain way, ultimately, you're never going to be happy when you get there. And so, when you're doing it for health and the results are a byproduct, like that's just a win. And now you're doing it because you actually genuinely love yourself and you're genuinely prioritizing yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we provide a model and a system that like if you show up, you're going to get the result that you desire. You're going to have every result you could ever imagine with your training, your strength, your body, your physique. So, some of the most impressive physiques I've ever seen on females come out of the gym that I own because they show up and do the work, but, they wanted something a little bit different when they first joined to what they got now, which is cool.
I'd say that the number one takeaway that came up on this Helix retreat was, when we went around in the circle at the end, everybody said, I am so surprised at how much further I can push my body than I thought and how much more I'm capable of than I thought before. Testament to you. Like, that's incredible.
Thank you.
What do you think is, what are we even saying here?
There's
no questions. There's no questions. Like all of these should be questions that we can answer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can just drop it at where it was. Just drop it. It's shorter.
This is the best part, I think. This is the biggest takeaway. Okay. I'll dive in.
We can riff it.
We're not riffing it though. You just left me hanging.
Yeah, I'm like, you got to ask me something.
There's no questions.
Make one up.
That's not how it works. That's why I need there to be fucking notes.
Okay. A lot of people said at the end of the retreat, I'm capable of more than I'm doing. Like, what do you think about that?
Such a question though. We said that on every one. When you think about that. Like, there just needs to be a little bit more like powerful. I'll say, what do you think the biggest takeaway was from the retreat? We'll start there. Okay. So the retreat on the weekend was a hoot. What do you think the biggest takeaway was for the people who came?
So most people said they feel like they're capable of more than what they're doing. So like their effort in the gym is not reflective of what they can possibly do, which is synonymous with what I've been thinking over the last couple of years. I remember hearing the story of David Goggins, and he was doing his marathons and shit, and he like broke his ankles, broke his feet. He had like fucked knees, and he still carried on and ran like 80 Ks or something with all that stuff, with like broken feet and stuff. So I always think about that when someone's like, I'm absolutely fucked. I've got nothing left. I'm redlining. I thought, David Goggins could run 80 Ks with broken feet. Do you want to and knees and stuff like that?
Yeah. Do you want to give you like listeners a little bit of an insight into like what we actually did on training camp?
Yeah. So we started with a 1 RM back squat or deadlift, which is cool. Everyone got a PB. Then we went into a bench press challenge. So we did 100 reps as fast as we can, timed each other and competed against each other. Then we did a conditioning piece, 21:59 calories and burpees for time, and the bottom place people got punishments. Then we did a called Tim's Hell, so 500-meter ski, 1,000-meter bike, and a 1.1K run.
Uphill run.
But the kicker was that they were timing, and then they had to do it twice and beat their time by 10 seconds. Otherwise, they had a punishment again.
50 burpees.
Then there was
I beat my time by 10 seconds. Yeah. I was so thrilled. Never been more thrilled in my life.
So this was all back to back, by the way. Then we had a bunch of other things as well. So that's just like a look.
We had 300 calories on the assault bike, a few other things, plus a heap of mindset components. Guys, it was torture. It was hell. And it was the best hell of all time, because every single time you just realized, one, how much more you had in the tank, but two, community is everything. Like, it's just so sick because everyone massively gets around each other and fully, like, if someone's finished, they're shouting out, they're supporting you, they're getting on the floor with you, they're like patting your back. Like, it was just the best.
Epic vibe. So, the key takeaway we got from this was, there's so much more that you can be doing and you are capable of so much more. So you need to find the edge of your comfort zone and really smash through that.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So that's been a wrap on this episode of the Helix Experience. If you guys loved it, all I ask is you just share this with one person. Just tell one person that you got something out of this episode. Final words, Steph?
Yeah, if you're in Perth and you want to get around to another camp, send Tim a DM because we're thinking about running another one and we'd love to have some new faces in.
Thanks, guys.